of a medical situation because I just don't see how, if you can't perform, you can't perform. That again, maybe some of it is psychology, but I think a lot of it is medical. I think men and maybe some women too tend to blame their spouse for their shortcomings, when in actuality, maybe there's something they should explore with their doctor and not necessarily say, well, it must be I'm not attracted to her because she wears her headscarf at night or because she wears her big panties at night. Maybe I should be exploring my own psychology, as Greg says, or my own medical issues. So I'm
absolutely.
I agree with that.
It can be two things at once. Okay. And I wasn't necessarily saying that, it's all the woman's fault because she has on the bedroom slippers and the scarf. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying the answer to the question is, how can we get to a place where we both enjoy intimacy? Mm-hmm. And part of the problem could be medical, like you said, but I think a larger part is psychological, and where people just have to, help. They will get help through therapy or something, or help themselves through conversations with their significant other.
Let me ask you. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't want to cut you.
No, that was it.
Let me ask you guys something. For Tracy and I, do you think men are held to a different standard when it comes to things like, sex and picking up a side person? Because a woman who says, well, he's not satisfying me, so I'm going to go call Bob next door, she becomes a hoe, right? Everybody say, oh, she's just a slut, she's just a hoe. But when the guy does it, don't you think sometimes he gets a pat on the back and it's not always, judged as harshly as it is when a woman does it? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it, but I mean, that's just something that's been since the beginning of time, because the woman is always thought of as being pure. Mm-hmm. So if she steps out on her, and yeah, she's going to be looked at as something undesirable. I mean, we didn't make the rules. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's part of the societal norms, good, bad, or indifferent. I have two daughters. And so having two daughters, I look at that dilemma differently, as if I had two sons. If I had two sons, it would have been, go out and conquer. But having daughters, you have to prize yourself and your body and your possessions. But if you're talking about somebody who's been in a long relationship and they wake up one day and come to the realization, hey, I have not been satisfied. We don't talk about what the issues are for whatever reason. And you just grow frustrated and you decide to take an alternative. I think it happens all the time. And if you're outed, there are consequences for every action, right? And you're right. The guy might be looked upon as being something in a positive light, and the woman will be looked upon as something in a negative light. But again, I attribute those to societal cues.
So some of what we talked about, like Stacey, this might be something you can answer first. You like younger women, and I get it. A young woman will stand on her head and suck you 6 ways to Sunday. I get it. But there's a financial cost to that sometimes. I mean, they're not doing it because you just a fine MF and they just, I'm just saying, what happens when they hand you the receipts is my question. And I like to hear the guy's response to that.
Well, I mean, a young girl will hand you a receipt, and so will an older woman.
Okay.
Just that simple.
There. So what do you do when they hand you the receipts?
Hey, well, you got to pay the play.
You pay the bill, right?
I mean, you both getting something out of it. So there's no such thing as, to me, there's no such thing as, let's say, she using you.
Right. I
got money. Because you're gonna pay one way or the other. That's how I look at it. Like, just like you take a girl out to dinner. I mean, you're both eating. It's not like you're taking the girl out and she's eating and you just sitting there. So you're both eating, you're both drinking. So you sitting there and she just eating and drinking all your money away, and you're not doing anything else. So I don't agree with that. Like I said, you get something out of it regardless.
Okay, Greg, question for you. And I'm not asking you to reveal whether you've had any infidelities in your marriage, because that's not our role here. What I am asking is, do you think sometimes okay, so let's back up. Greg, you and I had a conversation once, and I heard Denzel, and you kind of said something similar to what I heard Denzel say once, is that you may give your wife a million reasons to leave you, but you're never going to leave her. And I think that's commendable. You said that you would never put anyone or anything ahead of your family. So
Absolutely.
we're never going to walk away from your family for anybody, for any reason. I think that's commendable. Do you think that sometimes some men get caught up and walk away from their families too soon? Or, I mean, that's just a question.
Yeah. To answer your question, yeah, it happens. And part of my personal constitution is I would not put, for lack of a better phrase, a piece of, you know where I'm going with this, in front of the general welfare of my children. Of course, that meant a lot more when they were younger. But, even now, I'm not going to put, a piece of tail in front of my kids' general welfare. And so, to echo what Denzel said, I'm just not going to put my family in a sling like that. And I don't know. I mean, I think when you asked me this the last time, I said that, right? Yeah.
I'm just curious, because women too, I mean, sometimes women make decisions that are, good, bad, or indifferent, not to the best interest of their spouse or their family. And Tracy, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that sometimes women, go outside of the marriage or outside of the relationship and make mistakes and tend to, displace their family, for lack of a better phrase?
I mean, absolutely. I think men and women do it, and I believe that sometimes it's done really quickly because it's an emotional thing. Like, it's always really easy to walk. It's always easier to walk away than to be the one left behind. So it's easy to walk away and go off into another relationship because it's perhaps fun. It's, fulfills you for right now, but you still leave damage behind you, and you still haven't addressed the issues that got you to the place where you going outside of your marriage in the first place. And you're still taking, as a person, you're taking whatever baggage you had in that relationship with you. So it's not like you're absolved of everything that occurred. There's no 100% no non-fault person in any relationship. We all bring stuff to the table. So if you just casually walk away, you're still just taking that stuff with you. And sometimes I think people just get caught up. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's an excellent point, Tracy. And one thing you referenced was, what's going to preclude you from doing the same thing with the next relationship, right?
Right.
So if you haven't addressed what the genesis of the issue is, it's going to repeat itself, or it may repeat itself. Okay. Because once you sort of fall out of favor with this new person, and you got the same problem, right? So before you do that, it might be better to investigate or look inward to find out, well, why am I dissatisfied? Again, and so,
yeah,
I commend Denzel. He's been married like 35 years, hasn't he?
I think at least. I mean, a lot of those celebrities, I'm surprised, have been married a very, very long time to their mate. And I'm sure that has not been without some forgiveness and some,
absolutely. And
absolutely,
probably a lot on his part.
Right. I had another thing that I read recently, because I did a lot of research before this call. Did you know that, and this is something I didn't know, so maybe you guys know that. Do you know that a man can have an orgasm without an erection?
I did.
Oh, okay. Oh. Tracy, did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
I didn't know that either.
I think they have a phrase for it. It's called an erection or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
we don't we don't wait around long enough to experience that, you know. By then, if we don't have the erection, it's on to the next for a lot of us, you know.
uh-huh. Well, I'm gonna close this out. I think we've had some really stimulating conversation. I so appreciate my guest tonight. My new friend to the Squad House, Stacy. Thank you for stopping through. My old faithfuls, Greg and Tracy, as always, good to have you here. Great, robust discussion. But I just wanted to just thank you guys for coming in and thank my guests for tuning in. And as always, these were opinions, and these were not meant to counsel or guide anyone else around anything that you're going through. These were simply opinions of people on the in the Squad House tonight. So thank you so much. As always, I love you, G Squad, and we'll see you next time.
Nice hanging with you guys.
good night, Gail. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Great conversation.
Good night,
Yeah.
everyone. Bye-bye.